and then 11 turkeys.
Yep.
And of course, yesterday it was at like 25. It was beautiful, whatever. And then today it rained. Is like at 15 this morning, and I'm like, ugh. So I lost five of them
Oh.
because they all huddle. They all huddle and they sit on each other.
Hmm.
So I lost five. But
Oh,
temperature's back up now because I
Yep.
fixed it. Been doing that since 6 this morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. Well, it's been a while since we've had a market analysis because I was gone for um, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then yesterday was Dragon Riders. So glad you could all make it today. Glad you could all make it today. There's been some movement. Obviously, we've been seeing markets fluctuate a little bit. We've also seen cryptos increase a lot in market capitalization this week. Ethereum, in fact, it looks like it's starting to show some promise. So yeah, let's go over the charts here this morning. If there are any questions, feel free to put up your hand and I'll be watching out of the corner of my eye. Let's go and get the screen share. Here we go. Let's start off with technical analysis for silver. We can see this ranging price is still happening. We've been talking about this now for a few months, how the price just continues to bounce back and forth in this area here, this rectangle. I'm just keeping it here because of how prominent this area has been throughout history. And as this continues to consolidate, what happens is that a buildup of energy occurs. The price itself cannot maintain this sideways momentum for a long time, and the longer it's in that range, the more energy gets built up, and we'll likely see a breakout similar to what happened here in April, where the price just broke out of that pattern quite suddenly and then came back into an average that we've been watching for the last, oh my goodness, how far back does this trend go? Quite a while. In fact, this low here is back from March 2020, right after COVID. And so this trend here, if I extend this trend line, you can see that average movement. Let's go like this here. So we're gradually heading upward. And so I would expect, the next big pulse that we see, the next big movement. Like look at this here. After March 2020, the price ended up taking off significantly, and in a matter of 147 days, the price went up 149%. So this kind of impulse is something that we can expect to occur because as we can see, the size of this motion, this movement here, the size of this hasn't occurred since then. And essentially, we were consolidating that price. Let's grab my drawing tool here. Essentially consolidating within this price range for 4 years, just like this, going back and forth. And then it broke out, but the movements have been getting smaller and smaller. A lot of these movements were fairly large, and this smaller and smaller movement with more and more consolidation, which we're seeing on this zoomed in version, this is becoming more and more charged, shall we say. And so the next movement that we see will likely be rather dramatic. Now, this drop down here occurred. And, if we adjust this line a little bit more to reflect the more recent trend, it could very well be price comes back down to retest this level of support and then bouncing up, continuing. I do expect it to continue to rise as we have seen over the past, 5 years or so. We've been seeing that gradual, gradual incline. I think we're going to continue to see it, but that the next movement that we make is going to be rather significant. Um, and so, yeah, when we break out of that, I believe the price will go up in relation to what we see happening in gold. Now, gold over the last month now has been pulling back from the all-time high that was formed on April 22nd. And that doesn't make it bad. It just simply means that we've come back, as you can see, to this old high that was formed on April 2nd. And it's important to note that that April 2nd price point was the highest it had ever been, and then it retraced. Algorithm even said that, hey, this is becoming a sell sign, like a sign, a signal to sell. And then after finding its old high back from February, it bounced off of that to create new highs. Now, since this high from this extension here to the high that was formed here, there hadn't really been another challenge. It went up quite quickly, and it didn't come back and retrace and find solid support anywhere. And so it only made sense that finding a big extension after this movement here, which was a 17% increase, gold went up 17% in a matter of 13 days. That was we only would naturally expect it to come back and find support at the old high. So that's exactly what happened. And I believe that the next movements that we see in gold are going to be taking us back up to that all-time high, which is about 8.5% from the price point we're at today. Moving on to global markets. Here's the Japanese. This is the Japanese index, so the Japanese stock exchange in comparison to the US dollar. Now, I've been talking about how this area here would end up providing some resistance. This rectangle here that I drew. This purple rectangle goes back a long ways. And this area provided a lot of resistance. The price could not come back up to to meet its old highs. This drop here happened last August, and the market simply wasn't able to get above that level after that. Then when it came back down again, it was highly expected that if it were to return, that this area would provide resistance once again. And as we can see, the price action came in to that zone, but it's already beginning to fail. Now closing for 2 days here. It's been closing below that zone. And so that to me is an indication of a weakness. And it's likely, especially if Japan continues to have the economic problems that it's trying to mitigate, if it's not able to mitigate those, then it will continue to fall, probably back down to where it fell before. Gradually, quickly, who knows? It all depends on the severity of the crisis that they face. Now, if they are able to maintain this with all the miraculous printing that they're capable of doing, then we'll see the price continue to climb. But remember, that does not give us a reflection. That kind of price action, when it goes up, that does not give us a reflection of the value of the market, but rather the devaluation of the currency used to measure the market. So, so it's important to if you are paying attention to this, if you are trading in the stock market, it would not be advisable for you to have long positions. It would not be advisable for you to position your money in such a way that you believe that you will profit when the price goes up, because the likelihood is very low. And in fact, I'm encouraging people to get away from these markets simply because of the nature of this great reset and how the monetary system is being shut down. It's being systematically taken apart and transferring the assets to a whole other form of commodity. So into the US markets here, we have a similar price pattern happening as what we saw with the Japanese markets. A little difference is that the US markets have managed to get above this major pivot zone that I marked months ago. Back here in March, this was starting to consolidate, and I was thinking to myself, well, I don't think it's going to be able to come back and meet a new high. And sure enough, we had a little bit of a dip in the stock market there at the beginning of April. Since that time, we have been climbing, but it has not managed to really show a lot of strength. It'll be interesting to see what happens if it's able to get above this line. This is kind of our next big milestone. If we're able to get above this line, then we may be challenging that all-time high once again. But until we get above that, my bets are off. I don't think it's going to be climbing much longer. Again, they very well may. I mean, I figured in 2020 that we had about 18 months before the Great Reset was complete. So my timelines have not always been accurate. This is next here. We're going to be talking about cryptos and watching. We're going to be watching as this transference occurs, as this transition from, you know, time-backed commodities as they get transferred into data-backed commodities. We're going to be noticing more and more capitalization come into the, oh, there we go, going to be coming into the crypto markets. And over the last week, over the last month or so, this May, oh, no, this is just a couple weeks. Since the beginning of May, the price has given us a pretty, or the market capitalization in cryptos has given us a pretty good jump. And this is encouraging to see. However, it's important to remember that there's not much of a challenge. This is a pretty big movement. You know, going up 22% without a retracement to find support. That's something to be mindful of. Right now, the way that I'm positioned, I'll show you in a little bit here how I'm positioned within ADA, and that is I've got the positions in place to catch that retracement. So I have pending orders that will automatically place if the price comes back down here. For those of you who are tuning in for on our social media platforms, if you need some help with that, reach out to me, and or leave a comment here, and let's find some time to connect so I can show you how to take advantage of these opportunities. Bitcoin right now. Well, last week there we jumped over, May 8th is when we jumped over that $100,000 mark. Now staying above that consistently is a very good sign for bullish movement. That $100,000 price point, that's got a psychological influence upon people who are trading. And we can see that how, people were denying the bids for the price to go down. The bulls are outperforming the bears consistently here, especially since the middle of April. I've seen continued, even below that, the beginning of April. 6th of April was the low that Bitcoin experienced after reaching its all-time high. And since that time, it has gone up 39%. Again, we can see that these retracements have not been very large. And so again, I would caution people if they're especially looking to make some money in the if they're looking to make some money while the price goes down, they may wish to alter their positions and be ready to repurchase at that just below that $100,000 mark. Now, again, that doesn't mean that it will happen, but that's what I would do, simply because these movements that have occurred since this low, they're quite significant, and there hasn't been much of a retracement to come back and look for old, look at this here. My mouse isn't doing its thing. So look at this area here. You can see, actually, I'll grab this one. This area here, you can see provided a lot of resistance in the past and even support back as far as this. Well, as the price has been climbing up, it has not come back to test that old support line. So I would like to see it come back and retest previous highs just to make sure that this trend is going to be sustainable. Many times when we see these kinds of movements, this is indicative of market manipulation, where the ebb and flow, the natural ebb and flow of the market, is not as prominent. That means another type of buildup of energy, where the bears may take a little bit more control and bring that price back down to test an old support. So that's right now kind of the fork that we're seeing on Bitcoin, one way or the other. We don't really know, but we've got the two major pivot points marked here. This is the all-time high at the very top, and this is the most previous support right here. So I would expect it to come back here and retest this line. Ethereum. Let's move on to this one. This one here is showing the most promise out of all of the coins at the moment, simply because after the beginning of May here, we found that support off of this old support back there. You can see how that worked. This old support provided more support for this last little movement over the last, this is the last, since May 7th, about a week and a half now. Oh no, just a week. And this movement here is 45% increase in just a matter of a week, 7 days and 4 hours, technically. Again, there's not been much of a retracement. For the size of movement this is, I would expect it to come back and test the top side of this long-term downward trend line. It blasted up above that quite quickly without much of a challenge. And so I would expect it to come back to this position here. Coming into, XRP, I'm going to leave this one alone for today. Move on a little bit more quickly. I'll show people what it is that I'm doing with ADA at the moment. So as you can see, I've got a bunch of lines that are painted here. These are all different pivot points. As you can see here, I've got resistance lines above this area and support lines below. And this is set to look at those points of interest where there's a lot of volume being traded, where the price reverses. Those pivot points are crucial. Right now, as it stands, we see how the price came up over this last, about a week ago. The price has come up, and we've now just started a good retracement. Now, that retracement came back to this line here. Now, whether or not that support can hold, we have yet to determine. But this morning, when the price came down and touched this line here, one of my orders came into play. When seeing this price come up here without a proper retracement to find that support, I created a pending trade here, so that I would catch it when the price came back down to retest that support. It worked. I bought some more ADA. Now, if the price does come down further to even test the next line down, I've got another order ready there as well. And that order is even bigger than the first one. So that is the strategy of dollar cost averaging. As the price goes down, I will be buying more and more ADA the deeper it goes. The reason why is because the farther that retracement goes, the larger the likelihood of there being another bounce. So with these in position, I feel very confident that no matter what happens right now, if the price continues to go up, I'll make some money. If the price continues to go down, I'll make even more. And moving on, injective token. This one here has been having a lot more price volatility than ADA, in the sense that the previous high actually beat out more pivot points. In fact, with Cardano, it was really just this area towards the end of March where there was that high. And Injective token really blew past that and even challenged these old pivot points up here. Now, right now, it's showing a little bit of a weakness, similar to the price pattern that we're seeing right now in Ethereum and with Cardano. That's probably indicative of the overall. You can see this is the overall total of the altcoins. You can see a very similar price pattern there as what we saw with Injective token. That's that's Injective token. Almost looks like an identical chart, and that's just because Injective, ADA, Ethereum, well, I should say, um, Modic, a lot of these layer two coins, Doge, they are all they're all altcoins, and so the price, rather the capitalization that we see in altcoins is going to be reflected, especially in the larger altcoins, of which Injective, ADA, Doge, those are all them. Moving on, let's go to Optimism. This is Optimism. It's currently right now looking like it's having a little bit of trouble getting over this marker here, this pivot point. That's not to be too, we're not to be too concerned about it though, because as we can see, when we broke out of the trend back here, this was in April, towards the 20th of April. When we broke out, we used the top end of that, the top side of this trend line as support and made a nice impulse towards this pivot point here, the green line. Now, it wasn't able to maintain it, but that's okay. When it came back down, it retested that long-term trend line and then made an impulse to re-challenge and even beat that old high. So Optimism, even though it had a difficult time getting above this zone here, that's quite all right. This was a large impulse. It's expected that we'll be seeing a little bit of movement back to find support before we re-challenge this high. So encouraging chart simply because of how strong this impulse was and the fact that it came up and even beat out these highs here. Next, Fetch. I've talked about this company a few times here. This is a decentralized AI system that is moving towards AGI, which is automatic or artificial general intelligence. Don't worry, folks. I don't find that these computers that are running these programs are very intelligent. They're simply probability calculators, and they just spit out the most probable answers. Similar to when you are in your text, and as you start typing, it tries to predict what word you want to use next. It's the same technology, just across larger spans of words. And so with Fetch, this company here is showing great promise within their price action, having two nice impulses. As we can see, coming from the low that occurred in the beginning of April, that price action has risen. It rose quite consistently, up 127% in 19 days, finding that resistance at the old 81-cent level, retracing, and then pushing back above again, finding a new high, even an old price point back here. If we go back further, I bet you there's even more. Oh yeah, look at that, there's more. So this price coming up has found a little bit of resistance. Looks like it's already come back and found the old support here in this area. And next movement would be wonderful to see is more volume coming in. And we've got a little bit of a downturn in volume. So we may see this come back down to retest this long-term trend line. No matter what, though, this is in a really good position to continue moving upwards, especially after seeing this downturn that we experienced since the fall. Let's see here. What else do I want to cover today? You know what? I'm going to open up the call. I've got some other assets that I can check out, but if people want to bring forward any questions they have about the markets in general or a specific chart they want me to check out, let me know. Yeah, I'm not going to cover any more charts for this particular session, except by request. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute. Go ahead. For those of tuning in online and any of the social media platforms, feel free to comment to ask any questions you'd like. Yeah, Maureen, go ahead, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get this layer one, layer two coin straight in my head. So the ones that you've been reviewing, the Injecta and the Optimum, or I think that was the name of it. But those are all layer two coins.
Most of them. Injective is a layer one, but they also have a
Oh,
layer two component to to their smart contracts. That's a bit of a involved discussion on how they're able to accomplish that. But their objective is to be a main layer one coin in the sense that they're helping bridge a lot of these ecosystems together so that there's more interoperability between the chains.
so so is again layer one coins just have could you describe the difference between layer one and layer two again for me?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. So layer one coins will typically employ a protocol for settling transactions, either proof of work. So things like Bitcoin is a proof of work coin. Proof of stake is another protocol. Ethereum pioneered that one. And then a bunch of others came aboard. Cardano, for example, another layer one coin that used proof of stake protocols. And as a result, we've been seeing branches of other types of proof come out. Now, typically speaking, layer one coins are either proof of work or proof of stake, and underneath those protocols, we have other coins being brought forward that employ supportive protocols to those layer one coins. An example of that would be in decentralized finance, which is this exploration that people are having right now in taking out loans with crypto in the crypto sphere. And that is through the employment and completion of the smart contracts behind those loans, people are beginning to establish a proof of reputation. And that protocol is being added as another layer to the entire ecosystem. So, layer two coins are typically employing specific protocols that will assist their clientele in their custom contracts as they're employing the layer one proof of work or proof of stake consensus.
thank you.
You're so welcome. And if I go too fast or if you have questions about terminology or whatever, go ahead, ask
Yeah,
away.
the altcoin. Tell me what's an altcoin?
Uh, Altcoins are simply referencing a category of coins that we call them, most of them are second generation coins or second generation blockchain. First generation, we have obviously Bitcoin. That one is the main one. Ethereum came shortly thereafter with proof of stake, and we consider those ones to be the main ones. We have things like stable coins that also come into into that market capitalization where they're widely used, but they're not altcoins because they're pegged to another fiat currency. For instance, the most common one that we hear of is USDT, which is the tethered US dollar. It's a cryptocurrency, but it's pegged to the value of the dollar. So it operates very similarly to a legacy coin like Bitcoin in that it uses proof of work and so on and so forth. However, it's not an altcoin yet simply because it doesn't have any other function. It doesn't accomplish. really much else other than creating a digital version of the US dollar so that people can trade a little bit more conveniently, then sending money to a crypto exchange, and then when it's time to sell, take all that money and move it back over into your bank account to hold USD. So by creating that stable coin, people can facilitate their transactions easier. Altcoins are typically looking at creating alternatives to the legacy coins. And so basically, if we want to reference altcoins, we're typically removing the coins like Tether, Bitcoin, and Ethereum because they are kind of in a league on their own. The altcoins are that emerging market of technopreneurs and and oligarchs as well. That the altcoin movement is where a lot of the variety and the color of uh, the color of expression is the only way that I can really put it. Digital expression, in the sense that people are able to assign value to these bits of code because they're that secure. They're so secure that you can actually trust that they'll hold their value. And it's a wild concept, but that has been growing more and more over the last 10, 15 years. And now these altcoins are, I believe that they will be taking a lot of prominence. I think that the altcoin world will actually exceed the market capitalization of Bitcoin and Ethereum simply because of how much people are going to be gravitating towards solutions that help them the most in whatever financial situation they're in. Does that help again with distinguishing altcoins?
Yes.
Awesome. Great question.
I'll just keep hearing it. Just I'll have to keep hearing it again and again.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Hey, wow.
Awesome. Any other questions? Well, wonderful to have everybody back. Wonderful to be back. I got some good time away in the mountains. Feel a lot more refreshed, and rested. And I'm grateful to all of you who are continuing to come by and learn about this. I'm excited to see what happens next, especially with some of this new price action from Ethereum. If that can continue, we can be rest assured that that will launch a lot of the layer two coins that Audrey, you and I are involved in. Some of those investments that we made last summer, they are still damn good, even though they're down 60, 70, 80%, some of them. They are still in incredible position for wild growth.
Well, it's good to buy right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's kind of what I'm going to do today is um, I'll, yeah, just the
Yeah.
money I
You just
have in the
let me know when
index, I'm just going to invest
yeah.
a bunch.
Yeah.
And
You just let me know when you want to get together for that transaction.
yeah, I might wait for that transaction. I think I'm just going to invest that. And
Yeah.
next month I'll give you.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Good stuff.
So
Awesome.
I'm interested in hearing what you guys are doing and what coins and why, or is that something that we can talk about or?
Yeah,
I'll talk
absolutely.
about it off the live.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When we turn this off here, and
Let's do that. Let's do
time right now,
it. Okay.
or I'm happy to show you even how to get started. Now, there would be, especially some of these coins, it would be advantageous if you want to get into the layer two that you and I meet up and we establish which wallet you want to use and that kind of thing. But especially if you want to trade from within your exchange, yeah, when we're done the live stream here, we can talk about certain coins that we're in.
Okay. What I noticed though is again, I think I've said this before, is like when I'm invested, then I seem to retain what
Oh
what you're
yeah.
talking about, what they are, how it works. And so it to me, it's like tuition. That's kind of where I am right now.
I
Oh
have
my
mine all
God.
written down. So all these are my investments all the way down. These are all my investments, and these are different days. So I keep track of kind of the days as well. Now you can do it digitally too, but I do it.
You've
And
got your own ledger. Now I'm
yeah,
familiar
yeah.
with
So
that.
I have all my investments, and
Yeah.
I have what they have in today, and the pricing, right? So what it's at today.
You write it in every day, what it's at today?
Well, I haven't. I would like to do it every day just to
Oh,
see the
oh,
pattern.
yeah, the
But
pattern.
yeah, I've missed I miss a week sometimes, and
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's
doesn't
a
seem.
lot to track. It seems like a lot to track, but maybe I'm
I
missing.
just sit down, and you know what? It takes me 5 minutes, 10 minutes just to write.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just to write it down, and
Another
then
thing too is that Audrey is very, very much. She has. This is what I've noticed about you, Audrey, is that you like to jump in both feet, get wet, and just muddle around with it. And that's how you approached it. And it was wonderful because you got to settle into this ecosystem with what, probably 10, 15 different coins
mm,
across all of the different accounts.
oh God, no. Like, I mean, I've got investment. I don't know if it's in coins, but I've got 2, 3, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, about 25 different investments.
Yeah.
And I've put, and this is just over months. So I take a block of money that I feel in the month I can invest
Yeah.
anywhere from 100 to 1,000,
Okay.
right? And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to invest this month. What do I want to invest it in? And that's where Paul comes in, right? So then I talk with Paul, and I'm like, okay, I want to put 100 in. So where would I put that? And what's it kind of going to do? Everything that I have and I am down. Everything right now, most people, to be honest, would be freaking out right now. Because over the little bit I have, to be honest, I have probably around 15,000 invested, and I'm down on all of it. But I know it's going to come back. Like, they're all not going to just poof and disappear, right? The market always does,
Mhm.
right? It always does that. So no big
Yeah.
deal. I'm just going to watch now. Now that I know to watch, and I'm here listening to Paul, now I'm like, okay, I'm down. Well, now I'll buy a bit more of that one. And then when it goes above to where when I bought it in the first place, then I'm going to take out the profits. That's kind of my strategy. And then I'm going to take out the profits and leave the principal that I had in there.
That
Ride again, you know? So that's kind of my strategy. Whatever your strategy will be your strategy, right?
it's sort of like going to Vegas. It's like you play with the winnings, that just like what you're talking about. It's like when
Well,
you
you have
win,
to put the principal in, right? You have to
yeah,
put the
you
principal
have to do
amount.
that first. Yeah.
So every month I decide what I want to put in as principal. So, like I said, 100 to 1,000 to 2,000, whatever I have available that month. I add it to different investments, and I've let them ride.
And it seems to me like right now is the time to invest because now I mean, even last year when you were investing, because you
Mhm.
knew what was going to happen eventually, is that these were going to go up, or you didn't know which ones.
Yeah.
But
But now is the time to put some money in some of them, and yeah. Like I said, I have 25
yeah,
different ones. And some I've lost in a wallet. Paul will tell you which ones don't go with.
But
They're
you know,
in the
again,
ones
it's
that are paying.
tuition. It is
Well,
tuition. Yeah,
I
it's
just
like
can't get to
I
the
really
wallet.
like that attitude. You
Yeah.
know, like oh, it's a learning curve, and there's just some that you know that's going to happen. So
Well,
I think
no, I
it's
mean the wallet
yeah.
is holding it. Like I know the password, I know the code, but they're not letting it out, and I don't know why.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
Paul
again,
and I have,
that's part of
yeah.
that's part of the learning.
I need a hacker. I need a hacker. So, Paul, we're going to discuss that as well
Okay.
Gosh,
because I'd
that's
like
such
to
a
get that money out.
that's good for the archives. That discussion, you know, of what to do.
Mhm.
I think you know just part of the learning of what to do and how to handle it, and
Mhm.
that's you know.
Yeah. Well, and before I met Paul, I invested as well with other people, brokers, and I lost that money. Gone. $12,000 there. I lost it because I didn't have control of my money.
Mm.
Like now, I know. Like Paul has shown me, this is where you put it. This is how you do it. Now, not that I don't have to go back and go, hey, how do I do this again? Over and over. But, you know, it I would never invest with somebody else again, ever. Yeah. I'm I'm here and happy with it. So,
Yeah. Well, some people go on a vacation. You know, I have like lots of little things that how I talk to myself, narratives about how I spend my money, and and if I'm learning something and enjoying it and participating, those are part of my value. And around a community, that all is valuable to me. You know, to learn the financial market, to get some savvy, and I don't think you can do anything without it going up and down. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yep.
And somehow the money is spent anyway. You know,
yeah.
that's my ultimate one. Is like I did have it, now I don't.
Yeah, I was like, oh
Spend
man,
your
you
money
know, and like this month, I'm like, oh man, I think I might be like a couple $100 short, you know, this month. But I'm like, not really. I put money in my investments. I'm good, you know, kind of thing. So yeah, it's better to put them in investment and go, okay, they're at least I think of that as savings, if nothing else,
Mhm.
right? Like it's out of my pocket where I'm not spending it on something. Plants. Spend it on plants, I would. Oh, you're muted, Maureen.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, or kids. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
Yeah.
they always seem to know when I get a little windfall. Like, hey, mom,
Yeah.
or I do too, and I want to. You know, it's like it's there to be used. It's like what is that? The talents. You know, in the Bible they talk about it. You know, don't bury your talents, but you know,
Mhm.
use them. So I want it to be useful, whatever, in that
Yeah.
way.
So that's what I'm doing today and tomorrow is I will be looking at my investments. I have money in my Endax, which is my trade platform and or my what do you call it, Paul?
Exchange.
Exchange platform. Yeah. So I'm going to be going in there and doing some trades.
You know, and it is fun to like. I always hear of these women groups that have like they invest in the stock market and they all play around in it, and it breaks this.
No, it breaks the
Oh,
what?
breaks the.
Women don't do that. They do
Oh,
this.
oh, you
They
got
are so,
Maureen.
they're still yeah.
Maureen, you have to go back. It breaks the what? So you were talking and all of
Template,
a
the
sudden
stereotype, the
oh the
collective.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
how a woman is supposed to be in the world.
Mm.
That she can be just as versatile or I can be just as versatile and competent in learning about crypto as the stock market is, any kind of, the whole thing of sorry, Paul, but the white male that rules the world, kind of idea. No, that isn't true, but that's what we're presented with.
To be honest, though, most white males, or really any males, aren't patient with us to learn. This is what I've noticed with Paul, is patience to let me learn at my pace, and over and over and over and over and over and over telling me when I ask the question again, how do I do this? Having the patience to tell me again without going, well, I told you so many times, already.
You only get 10 times. That's it.
You only get 10 times.
After that, you're finished.
Yeah.
10
But
strikes
that's the
and you're
thing,
out.
right? Is right where I feeling comfortable and to be able to learn is with Paul's patience. Like, seriously, man, you got like awesome patience. Thank you. Very much.
Most welcome.
Oh, very true. Very patient.
Well, it took me a while. I'm a slow learner. I just took a long time to learn.
It is a loving presence, and it's not. And loving presence is patient and kind. And I can, and I think I'm very sensitive to, and I know I'm not the only one. Believe me, to a covered up irritation, and I never sense that I'm not I'm irritated, so I bet I'm covering it up so you won't know about it, and it's not there. I mean, I haven't come across it, and it's a wonderful teaching quality, and it keeps the things open, always open, which is very nice to be in the presence of. Of course, I was taught by nuns too, so.
I was taught by nuns too, but I got the paddle on my hand.
Yeah.
Yardstick. They
Yeah.
like the yardstick up and down the aisles,
Yeah.
Or the prayer book, which always got me.
Yeah.
The prayer book to beat you up with.
Exactly.
So Maureen, as Paul's talking a lot of times on his market analysis, I've written it down, and that's when I'm writing down I go into my stuff and I'm listening to him, but I'm also going in and doing where my investments are. So double tasking,
Why does that seem more productive if you can do two things at once?
Well, sometimes I miss what Paul said, and then I have to
Do
go
the
back.
laundry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I have no more
awesome.
questions.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. I kind of forgot that we still had that going. For those of you tuning in, feel free to reach out if you'd like to join us in the studio here. You can connect with me at manknownasppaul.com/connect. You can also subscribe to the Telegram there. Go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button there, or on X. Also, if you are interested in pioneering this renaissance that's emerging out of this fourth industrial revolution, feel free to connect with me on the website, book a time where we can chat about the opportunities that are most aligned with your purpose. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a good rest of the day.